Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.
Southeast Radio.
Well, with major disruption on the horizon for the motor industry, I thought there was no better time than now to invite Kevin Davidson, the Managing Director of the BMW Group in Ireland, to join us on the programme. Kevin, we have a lot to talk about this morning, but first, provide us with an insight into your own background.
Well, Carl, I started with the BMW Group about 30 years ago. I've worked in pretty much every area of the business, sales, after sales, training, a few times actually, worked in training, financial services and retailer development. Mainly in the UK, but I did do a stint as after sales director at BMW Group Canada. That was in 2005 till 2007. And I came to BMW Ireland as managing director in January 2020. I was really excited about that.
As you say, you assumed the role of MD in BMW Ireland in January 2020, just before the pandemic hit our shores. So what were your objectives for the group when you took the helm?
I think the first objective, Carl, was really to meet the retailers. They'd served the company and the brand so well for many years in the Irish market, and there's a lot of owner-drivers there, entrepreneurs that were invested in the business, and all of them currently working in the business. So that was really key. Then also to meet the suppliers that we had in place in Ireland to support our business objectives. And I was really delighted with what I saw, but I did notice that we hadn't led the premium segment for 10 years, and I was clearly keen to understand why, given the product lineup that the BMW Group's got. And getting to number one is really a key goal for the company. Also, when I joined the company, I was keen to understand how we were digitalising the process with the customer and enhancing the journey, and clearly moving forward the demands of the customer and what digital tools we give them is going to be part of our future success. And also I knew that we had to kind of chart a path to electrification, and I was really keen also to develop a plan for that straight from the get-go in January 2020.
And Kevin, when you investigated the fact that BMW wasn't leading the premium category in Ireland, what did you uncover?
Well, I think there was some opportunities there in terms of looking at the sales channels and our sales channel management. And it was a case of looking at each of part of the market and basically breaking it down to see where we were strong and where we were weak. And I think there were certain areas that we just weren't focusing heavily enough. For example, the UKL segment of the market. So I think it gave us some chances to look into that and really to develop really some changes to our strategy going forward.
Now, BMW, of course, is a powerful global brand, but how has the group in Ireland adapted to challenges posed by the COVID-19 restrictions?
Carl, when the first lockdown hit, we were pretty much closed, as you know, other than for key workers in after sales. And it's really fascinating, though, that when you're working digitally, as all our team were, that you start to think digitally, and then you start to develop digitally. And then you prioritise it, and then you apply some pace and sizzle to it. And I think we did that quite well. There's some examples that we had. So the first one I would talk about is customers can now book video consultations with their preferred BMW centre. So we provided the retailers with the knowledge on how to do this, and provided also the retailers with the tools. Number two was developing our online finance calculators and range comparator tool. And these really help the customers compare the cars that they may be interested in. We've also developed a really smart digital handover tool with bite-sized videos for customers. And that gives customers the ability to tailor the handover to their requirements. And as you know, we were doing a lot of remote handovers, so that tool really was valuable for us. And our partnership with a company called See It Now really strengthened during lockdown. And this allows the use of videos in the sales buying process or, for example, during a vehicle health check. And we've got further digital and contactless sales initiatives in the planning for later this year. So one example that we're working on is BMW Pay in reserving a vehicle. So I think all of these tools will be really useful for us going forward.
And as you assess the current demand in the Irish motor trade, what are your projections for the group's performance in 2021?
I think first and foremost, it's important to highlight the three areas of focus for the BMW Group worldwide. And these are profitable growth, electrification and sustainability. And these focus areas kind of underpin all markets strategies within the BMW Group globally. In Ireland, it's no different. It also applies. So we're predicting growth of market share for the BMW Group, but in a profitable way. 50% currently of all Minis sold already this year are battery electric or plug-in hybrid vehicles. And nearly 40% of all our BMWs are electrified vehicles. So it's a big increase for us year on year with electrification, but we've had really good availability across the range as we go on our electrification journey. And we're just about to launch 3 new electric models during 2021. So I think this is really timely because the Irish consumer is definitely ready to go electric.
And of course, there's been record levels of savings in Ireland over the past 15 months. Do you expect that much of those savings is going to be spent on car upgrades?
I mean, I understand from economic data that there's up to 11 billion of private savings that have been built up during the pandemic. I think some of the economists are forecasting that at least half of that's going to be spent by consumers. Now, clearly, we hope that some of that would be spent on cars. I mean, it's absolutely great news in terms of recovery. And if it is spent on new cars, it will not only swell the government coffers with VAT and VAT income, but it will also be great for CO2 reductions as older cars are replaced by the newer cars. And I think it'll be good for the local business as all of our retailers are operated by local business people. So I think there's a number of factors that play out there. Also, I read in the CarZone report recently, I think it was produced in February, that 83% of 18 to 24-year-olds, so the Gen Zs, they say that the pandemic has actually encouraged them to learn to drive, and that 55% of all customers have said that owning and having access to a car is more important following the pandemic. So I think the BMW Group, we need to be ready for this, and I believe we will be. Our range is the most diverse we've ever had with petrol, diesel and electric models. We've really got a power of choice for the customer. And also, finally, on this point, we've got outstanding support from BMW Financial Services. They finance around 60% of all BMW and Mini new cars sold. And our BMW Select Finance product, the PCP offers, perfect for the customer.
And in terms of future disruption within the motor industry, could we see car ownership transitioning to a subscription service? And if so, how could that work?
I think, Carl, most manufacturers, including the BMW Group globally, have trialled and piloted numerous subscription services. And that's kind of been going on for a number of years now. But it certainly doesn't appear to me to be many examples of where it's really, really worked well. It's maybe been more about dipping a toe in the water. And maybe it's because the cost of these subscription services have been prohibitive. So therefore the challenge becomes making it value for money for the customer, whilst profitable for the provider. However, I think there's no doubt that the pilots that have been run have given manufacturers great intelligence on the customer and their buying motivations for the future. So I can see a future where it could work, maybe in a digital world where options could be turned on and off. And I don't think that's that far away, with the customer paying as they use in a kind of pay-as-you-go model.
And Kevin, taking a broader look at the BMW Group, we've discussed sustainability and electrification, but what other trends will you be paying close attention to?
I think the big one for me is sustainability. I find that very interesting. I think the consumer does as well. The BMW Group's openly stated as its ambition to produce the greenest car on the planet. And we've been making huge progress in that area. So, for example, we lowered emissions by 70% since 2006. We will lower it again by another 80% through 2030. In our procurement process, Carl, a supplier's carbon footprint is a decision criteria in awarding them the contract, and I think that's vital to the sustainability message. And also from 2021, all of our production plants will become climate neutral. 99% of all the waste is recycled in the production of our vehicles today. So sustainability is a big trend, and we've got to follow what everybody else is doing on that, but I believe we lead in that. Also, I would say another trend is the current focus is on electrification of the range, but a trend that needs close attention is the advancement of hydrogen fuel cell technology, which obviously give us alternative options for future mobility. And then there's other trends I think we're clearly interested in. You've mentioned the subscription services, also the direct sales model. We have got some experience of that through the BMW i3. It's not something we've currently got in our planning at BMW, but I'm aware other manufacturers have, so we'll be keeping a close eye on that. But I don't envisage it coming to Ireland even for these other manufacturers in the short term. And the move to autonomous driving, clearly that's interesting. I know that we definitely have further developments in mapping technology, but as a brand, we'll be ready for that.
And Kevin, in terms of other model innovations, what can BMW enthusiasts like myself expect to enjoy in the future?
So the big one for us is, Carl, 25 electrified cars and 13 pure electric models by 2023. And that will cover 90% of today's market segments. So that's our big one. We ushered a new chapter for BMW, for the brand, with the launch of 3 new electric cars, the BMW iX3, the BMW iX and the BMW i4 models. And they're really at the centre of our electrification strategy. So the BMW iX, for example, it's got a range of up to 613 kilometres. You can charge the battery to 80% in 35 minutes. It starts at around €85,000, and it will be available in Ireland in November. And we also use recycled plastics throughout the vehicle, and the floor mat's actually made of recycled fishing nets. So it's definitely a sustainability message with that vehicle. The BMW i4 range of up to 590 kilometres, starting at €63,000 on the road, available in Ireland from March 22. And that model will feature the first ever BMW M car with all electric drive. Both these models feature the new curved display in the BMW Operating System 8 inside the vehicle. They kind of give a new era of electric mobility and technology as you need it in the car. So really exciting times on the electric side. Obviously on the diesel and petrol side, we're still making advances. And this year we launched the all-new M3 and M4 vehicles for our motorsport enthusiasts. And finally we launched a new X3 and X4, both with M version options. And these all include visual and performance enhancements. And not forgetting Mini, with a new Mini Shadow Edition available as a 5-door hatch, also in electric and convertible models.
And Kevin, finally, what are your strategic goals for BMW Group Ireland over the next few years?
There's a few, but the big one is obviously the successful electrification of our range with BMW and Mini vehicles. I mean, if you look at the age of the vehicle in the Irish car park, it's quite high, it's quite old. To bring down overall CO2 in Ireland, we must sell newer cars. So it's replacing the the 9-year-old car driver goes to a 6-year-old car, the 6-year-old car to a 3-year-old car, and then maybe the 3-year-old car driver moves to maybe a new or a late used plug-in hybrid or battery electric vehicle. And as the number of electric vehicles grows in the market, we can speed up the electrification of Ireland. And I see our role in BMW Group Ireland being pivotal in this and working with SIMI and the Irish government to help facilitate the move towards electrification for the customer. I think there's some tough targets to be hit. The government wants 900,000 electric vehicles by 2030, so we need to really get moving fast on it. And the government do need a more comprehensive plan on charging infrastructure. I think both rurally and in cities. We've only got 1,100 charging points in Ireland. That won't be enough. Otherwise, the consumer won't go electric, and the target would be a pipe dream. I don't think we should also underestimate the knowledge transfer on the move from internal combustion to electric. I think it's the biggest change the industry's faced for decades. It's really, really exciting, but it needs all of us to help customers understand electric. And we've already started to confuse them with the use of hybrids, mild hybrids, full hybrids, plug-in hybrids, self-charging hybrids. So I think there's a lot to do, but BMW Group Ireland are keen to play a significant part in the electrification of Ireland.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Kevin Davidson, the Managing Director of BMW Group Ireland, and it was fascinating to hear what is planned for BMW in the future.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.
Southeast